Welcome back, everybody. This is Eric here with Iraq Veteran 8888. All right, I want to cover a little bit of information here. Now, this is an older story, okay? Just so you know, this is not necessarily news. However, I've been a little bit outside of the loop in terms of filming. I've taken a little bit of time off, and this is a really important type of topic that I want to weigh in on and discuss and provide hopefully some more exposure for this particular topic. I want to make sure that you're informed just in case you don't know about it. I want to make sure I had a video up on it. So I apologize if this is old news to some of you. However, I would like to discuss it today. I'm sure some of you have heard about the anti-militia bill that was introduced, and I do want to discuss it because it has some rather frightening implications, and obviously want to talk about some of the things I have in mind on this, and I think it's going to be very important for you to hear. Before we get started, I would like to thank our friends at CMMG for supporting our efforts. They're the king of weird in the AR world, y'all. They got some awesome hybrid systems, traditional ARs, of course, but their Descent line is absolutely amazing. You guys are probably familiar with the Mark 47, also known as the Mutant. Well, they also have the Mark 47 in a Descent line now, which is a folding stock with a bufferless system in 7.62x39, available in some different barrel lengths, tons of awesome finishes. They have some awesome 22 conversion kits that are arguably the best ones on the market by far. They work fantastic. So check them out, CMMG. Use the code IV8888 to receive a nice discount if you want to do business with them, and tell them we sent you. Great group of people. All right. So we've got an article here on Ammo Land. Now, to be fair, this is from late January, but I do want to discuss it again because I want to weigh in on it. This is an article from Lee Williams. I'm going to read through it here. The only purpose of the Democrats' anti-militia bill is to stop firearms training. When I read about this, y'all, I was absolutely shocked that they would even have the gall to go about this, all right? But it is totally a bill, all right? Let's get into this. As a law-abiding citizen of this great country, I can form my own militia if I so choose, appoint myself colonel, enlist my friends as privates or PFCs, and we can run around the woods until we all kneel over from heat stroke or heart attacks, whichever comes first. It's all perfectly legal, at least for now. We have the right to criticize our government. We can sit around the campfire at our secret militia base, nursing our sore muscles and fire ant bites, and talk about how Joe walks like a penguin, or how it would take Kamala a good 20 minutes just to tell you you're on fire. It's all perfectly legal and protected speech, at least for now. We have the right to train with our firearms. We can draw from a holster, shoot while moving, practice CQB, and send as much lead downrange as our bank accounts will allow. It's all perfectly legal conduct, at least for now. However, a new bill is making its way through Congress known as the Preventing Private Paramilitary Activity Act of 2024, which will make all of this illegal or at least suspicious enough to draw scrutiny from the feds. More importantly, it would paint a target on the back of every single American gun owner, which is the actual intent of this ill-conceived and extremely unconstitutional legislation. To be fair, if Joe Biden ever signs this bill, the second he puts down his crown, the feds will flock to local gun ranges in numbers that will make it nearly impossible for actual members to find a place just to park. The bill would give them license to investigate anyone who trains with a gun in order to determine whether they're a militia member. And don't think for a second that they won't. The FBI recently investigated law-abiding Americans whose sole transgression was shopping at a Cabela's or a Dick's Sporting Goods. Evidently, the FBI, the country's so-called premier law enforcement agency, wasn't aware that Dick's stopped selling guns and ammunition eons ago. Nowadays, the most dangerous thing on their shelves is a pickleball paddle. When the framers wrote the Second Amendment, militia membership was not only encouraged, it was required. All able-bodied men were instructed to own a firearm, powder, and shot to keep them clean and serviceable in the event that they were ever needed. Now, under the guise that it might be militia-related, a handful of lawmakers are trying to criminalize firearms training, especially anything tactical. In my humble opinion, it is just another step towards their ultimate goal of total civilian disarmament. The bill, H.R.6981, the Preventing Private Paramilitary Activity Act of 2024 was sponsored by Congressman Jamie Raskin, a Democrat from Maryland who apparently has never taken a constitutional law class. Raskin and co-sponsors Senator Edward J. Markey, a Democrat from Massachusetts, said in a press release that they introduced the bill to hold individuals liable who directly engage in certain types of conduct, including intimidating state and local officials, interfering with government proceedings, pretending to be law enforcement, and providing or violating people's constitutional rights while armed as acting as part of a private paramilitary organization. As an aside, there are already plenty of federal statutes on the books to address these types of crimes. The two lawmakers, of course, raised the specter on January 6 to help sell their legislation. Private military organizations pose a threat not only to national security, but they also present a public safety problem that extends beyond any single state. For example, private paramilitary actors like the Proud Boys and Oath Keepers traveled across state lines on January 6, they said in the joint press release. The bill defines a private military organization, the author's new term for militia, as any group of 3 or more persons associating under a command structure for the purpose of functioning in public or training to function in public as a combat support, law enforcement, or security services unit. According to this overtly broad definition, the private security teams established by churches, synagogues, and mosques across the country could be classified as militias, as could dozens of other groups. Like its definitions, the conduct the bill describes is overtly broad, too. The legislation defines dangerous conduct as publicly patrolling, drilling, or engaging in harmful or deadly paramilitary techniques, interfering with or interrupting government proceedings, interfering with the exercise of someone else's constitutional rights. Well, the feds do that every day, so they're guilty. Falsely assuming the functions of law enforcement and asserting authority over others, training to engage in such behavior. What exactly are harmful or deadly paramilitary techniques? Does CQB qualify? How about movement? Could transitioning, malfunction drills, or offhand shooting lead to my arrest? How about plain old punching holes in paper on a flat range? The authors don't say. They would leave it up to the federal agents and prosecutors to determine what violates the law. What could possibly go wrong? Anyone who violates Raskin's anti-militia bill could face fines up to a year in a federal prison. Repeat violators could face up to 2 years. If the violation involves bodily injury, there's a 5-year penalty. If a death occurs, the bill calls for a life sentence. The authors also added a forfeiture clause to confiscate your guns. Any person who violates subsection shall forfeit to the United States any property, personal or real, involved in, used, or intended to be used in any manner or part to commit or to facilitate the commission of the violation or that constitutes or is derived from proceedings traceable to the violation. So essentially, they could claim that your entire gun collection could potentially be used, therefore, not just the gun in question, but every gun you own, in theory. It's worded in such a way that they could say, well, your entire gun collection has to go. A true intent. Raskin's legislation is an unconstitutional nightmare. The bill clearly violates the First and Second Amendments and would have a chilling effect on any organized firearms training. The normal banter across the Biden-Harris administration that almost always occurs during breaks in training classes would have to stop, lest it be misconstrued as a threat. Team training would have to end. Instructors, especially the tactical ones, would have to understand that they are only one overzealous prosecutor away from losing everything. This is all by design, of course. It's exactly what Raskin and his ilk wanted when they sponsored this abomination of a bill. Fortunately, the founders left a few roadblocks for Jamie, Joe, and Kamala. Freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, and of course, our right to keep and bear arms. Thomas Jefferson once said that the price of freedom is eternal vigilance. Nowadays, in terms of our civil rights, he could not have had a better precognition. The story is presented by the Second Amendment Foundation's investigative journalism project and couldn't be possible without you. Of course, there's a link on AmmoLand if you'd like to donate to support people like Lee Williams and the organization. So great writing there by Lee Williams. And I really wanted people to know about this. I mean, hopefully you know about it by now, but I wanted to weigh in on it, and I wanted to make sure I had a video out on it because this is some really scary stuff. And this bill is, as far as I can tell, when I click on it, there is a summary. It is, I don't think it's been assigned to a committee yet, but it's still in the works. It's not like it's been completely shot down from everything I can tell. So it's definitely something you want to keep on your radar. Now, is it going to grow legs and go anywhere? Likely not. I mean, right now on the federal side, we do have a relatively, stalemated anti or pro-gun legislation type of environment, okay? There doesn't seem to be very much of an appetite in Congress to approach anything pro or anti-gun, which is good, but it's not going to stop the Democrats from throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks. They are notorious for throwing the worst bills at the wall just to see if maybe there are some Republicans across the aisle that will go, okay, we'll support it if you remove a few things, which unfortunately seems to be the playbook that is working for the Democrats right now. I mean, the Republicans are caving on a lot of different issues, not just, we're going to just step away from guns for a moment, but like you look at everything from all of these spending bills and refunding the government and funding the government, all these other things. They throw so many concessions in there and they view it as a victory, but really the other side gets way more out of those types of deals than we do. And unfortunately, when they make a concession on guns, the only people that are going to lose are us, are the civilians at the end of the day. So I think it's very odd how, the feds and the law enforcement and all can go out and train and do stop the bleed classes and, react to contact and, shooting from vehicles and deploying guns out of vehicles and, dealing with casualties and aid and litter. I mean, look, there's all sorts of tactical training you can do to prepare yourself for the worst. And I think it's very smart for civilians to have as much training as they can afford to take. I mean, especially if you don't have any law enforcement or military experience, it's a great idea to have some training. If anything, even if you don't ever get any type of advanced firearms training or anything like that, that's okay. You don't have to be John Wick, but you need to have some basic level of proficiency with a firearm, be able to take it apart, clean it, diagnose basic problems, disassemble magazines and clean them. Like, you need to know how to load, unload, make ready, make clear. You need to know how to freaking holster, and you need to know how to carry a gun and have at least a good solid foundation of good general firearms handling skills. That's just something every guy and girl, every patriotic person, every person who owns a gun needs to know how to safely handle, deploy, use, stow, store that firearm right. But even if you can't take some high-level training class, you need to have at least some basic knowledge of firearms handling. And I would argue if you are going to have to choose between, let's say, some high-end tactical training with a gun and like a good stop the bleed class or some good medical training, I would recommend you opt for the medical training first, because medical training is much more universal, and the chances of you responding to someone who's been hurt in any type of situation. Let's just remove firearms from the scenario. I mean, someone gets hurt on the side of the road, on a motorcycle accident, car accident, Mother Nature. I mean, there's plenty of ways that we get hurt. Your chances of running into someone who's going to need medical attention are much higher than your chances that you may end up having to plug a hole in somebody, or actually make a hole in somebody. So you're going to end up plugging a hole before you make a hole. All right, that's just the reality of it. The reality is a lot of people get hurt in many, many different ways. Firearms simply just aren't used in enough situations for you to have to really worry about it that dang much. And I'm not saying don't be complacent, right? I'm not saying be complacent. You need to know you need to carry a gun. You need to know, have it in a proper holster, know the laws, and know where you can carry and where you can't, and carry reciprocity. And you need to push for, constitutional carry in your given state. If your state is not already constitutional carry, you need to push for that. I'm going to do a video on that. Actually, that's next. We're going to talk about some new states that have constitutional carry. But the fact of the matter is, look, some basic level proficiency is good. Does that mean that you have to practice unit tactics, communication, and commo, and ham radio? You don't necessarily have to do all that. I mean, that is something that is probably encouraged. I mean, let's say it could start out really basic, right? in your neighborhood. Let's say you live in a somewhat inner city or suburbs, and there's, I don't know, 70 or 100 houses in a neighborhood or something like that. And let's say that you go to church together and you meet 10 other people within the church that you feel like, okay, these people have a similar mindset to me. Hey, maybe Joe Blow and Bobby and a few of the other guys have got some food on hand, some water, they store extra batteries, seeds, maybe they have some ammo and guns, and y'all have talked about it, over time you get to know people, you overhear things, you kind of get to talking to each other, and you go, you know what, these 10 guys in the neighborhood, we can probably rely on. If something bad happens, we know they're going to have their crap together, they're good dudes, they pay their dues at church, they're involved in the church. Hey, these guys are probably some good dudes, right? Start by having a security team at church. Okay, start with that. Approach the deacon, approach the pastor, say, hey, we'd like to provide security. Start there. Or get those guys together and have a talk like, hey, here's the plan. If something bad happens, we're going to meet in this place, right? We're going to be ready. We're going to be capable. We're going to, keep an eye on things. I might call Bobby, hey, I saw a car in front of your house. I mean, it just starts basic. Basic communication can just start with a text message thread between the 10 of you on one text message thread. And you're like, hey, I saw something here. I saw something there. How are you? Hey, I need something. When it comes to working as a unit, it starts as working as a team. Remove firearms from the situation. Everyone wants to paint this situation as if some advanced firearms training is somehow going to mean that you're all of a sudden going to be some dangerous paramilitary group like that's taking over Haiti right now. Anyway, what was that guy's name? Barbecue, I think, is in charge of Haiti right now. Anyway, I digress. But the point is, though, look, don't think about it like militia training or anything like that. Look, just be like, hey, everybody's going to be prepared. They're going to have their gear. They're going to have their guns, their food, their water, all your basics. Hey, maybe we pick up some radios, right? If the neighborhood is only a few miles in circumference, you could probably get some, basic radios and be able to have some direct radios if the cell phones are down, that sort of thing. You have a plan. Hey, we're going to meet up here. Maybe a couple of us have golf carts, a Polaris. I mean, that's how it starts. You ride around, check on people. Hey, you identify who in the neighborhood is elderly. Maybe these folks need medicine. Maybe they need help. Maybe some people have some young children that need special attention, formula, diapers, things like that. That's where it starts. Finding what your community needs at that basic core level, okay? And there's nothing wrong with it. And these folks would make it seem that if 2 or 3 or 4 of you get together and just have a talk about security and you happen to be armed, that could be considered some crazy paramilitary, effort or something. So that's what's so scary about these types of bills, that all the good people out there who are trying to do really good things in their community and trying to just protect their community and be assets to their community and not just be some leech on their dang community, they get thrown to the wayside because of bills like this. So now look, on the other end of the spectrum, okay, say that people do get together and do more high-level training. That's great. You want to take foot patrols, practice patrolling? That's fine. There's nothing wrong with practicing patrolling. You better believe the military does it. The feds do it. Trust me, if they can do it, dang it, we can do it, right? There ain't nothing wrong with challenging yourself. Maybe you get 10 or 12 of your buddies together. Hey, we're going to set up a patrol. We're going to walk out in the mountains for 12, 15 miles, and we're going to see what you freaking people are made of, right? We're going to strap 40 pounds on our back, and we're going to challenge ourselves, right? To see if physically we can do it. And in the entire time, we're going to maintain silence. We're going to maintain good, communication, hand and eye coordination, hand signals, right? We're going to maintain our proper formation and distance, right? Standoff distance. We're going to maintain command and control. If you want to get together and practice those concepts, react to contact, practice those things, there's nothing wrong with that, because at the end of the day, there's nothing wrong with staying alive. If some crap hits the fan, something bad happens, there is absolutely nothing wrong with you being able to have the tools and knowledge at your disposal to protect yourself. Ignore what they say about what your intentions are. Well, does it really matter what someone's intentions are? if the crap hits the fan and the world has gone to complete chaos, does it really matter what the law is anymore? Does it really matter who those people are anymore? Do you really think the police and the feds, military, and all those people are going to come and worry about you and yours? No, they're going to be worried about their families. They're going to be trying to insulate themselves from the terror of the situation, whatever that may be it a natural disaster, man-made disaster, political discourse, or political unrest, whatever it may be. At the end of the day, if you don't have the ability to survive on your own and at least have some form of organization with the people around you and know who your friends are at least, you're doing yourself a disservice. And all these types of bills really do is make an environment where people are discouraged from doing that type of stuff. And at the end of the day, what does that essentially make you do? It makes you rely on these people. So if they say, well, we've got food and water, and I'll tell you what, turn in your guns. We'll give you whatever you need. You can rely on us, but hey, we're going to ask you, you're going to have to turn in your guns. Like, remember Katrina, right? The mayor there, he wanted everybody to turn in their guns, and they went around and were collecting guns, okay? This is not a joke. Once they establish martial law, everything's out the window. And believe me, it's them. It's them versus you, and it's them and theirs. They're going to protect their families. They're going to protect their assets. They're going to do whatever their bosses tell them to do. And at the end of the day, your freedom is a secondary option to that situation, and your gun rights are secondary in that type of situation. And the only person that's coming to save you is going to be you and yours. You better believe it. So if that means that you need to, know who your friends are in your community and at least have somewhat of a basic plan hashed out, I don't really think that's a terrible thing to do. I think it's actually quite smart to do. So I wanted to put this video out. I know this information's a bit dated, and I apologize if some of you already know about it, but I wanted to provide my 2 cents and give some opinion on this because it is very important for people to be involved in their communities. It's important for folks to understand what's at stake in a natural disaster, a man-made disaster, political unrest, something like that, anything that goes on. It's important to know what's at risk, what's at stake. I mean, look at the LA riots. Look at the Koreans who, protected their grocery stores, right? They made sandbags out of rice bags and protected their grocery stores from looters, right? You never know. Once the law is preoccupied dealing with all of the crazy things going on, do you think that you're going to be their priority? No, you're not. So when they say that every able-bodied person is militia, what they mean is every able-bodied person able to use and carry a gun, that you ultimately are responsible for those around you, and that when things go south, you have to be the person that your community can look to for help, for protection, for assistance. That's what it really means at the end of the day. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. Thanks so much for tuning in. I've got many more on the way. I do apologize for my absence. I've been out for a while, but I've had a lot of things going on. I'm getting back into filming videos, so I really appreciate your patience, and I appreciate those of you who have supported me for the last, 15, 16 years we've been doing this now, so it's been a real long run. I've really enjoyed making videos for you guys, and I intend to make a whole bunch more. I've got a lot of awesome stuff on the docket for 2024, so I hope you'll join me for all of that. Thank you so much for enjoying today's video. Make sure you click the notification bell, and you can be getting all of my videos. Make sure you have to actually subscribe and click the notification bell to get the notification. Also, make sure you follow me over on Twitter, also known as X, Iraq Veteran 8888. I'm always posting deals over there, links, pictures, behind-the-scenes stuff, political commentary. So join me for the discussion over on Twitter if you wish. I would really appreciate a follow over there. I'm very active over there. So thank you so very much. Many more videos on the way. We'll see you soon.